welcome or welcome back. So for today's video we are obviously going to be doing my TBR jar picks my February reads. Now I usually pick 6 books every month to read, but this month is a little bit different because I actually fly to Australia on the 5th of February and I'm there for the whole of the month. So I don't know whether we're going to pick 6 because obviously I'm going to be travelling around, I'm going with a few friends, I'm visiting a friend of mine that lives over there currently, so reading isn't going to be my main priority and I'm already awful at completing a TBR, so I think I might do 4 or 5 depending on how we're feeling. And I'm also going to try and go for books that potentially are on Kindle Unlimited because I don't obviously want to take 4 physical books with me whilst I'm travelling around. And I'm also probably going to try pick some summary books because normally I'm a gothic-y, dark fantasy romance kind of girl, and that is still the case, and I probably will still take fantasy with me, but I feel like romance, obviously I'm in Australia, it's sunny, I feel like that's more the vibe for where I'm going, but we will see. So also this is very exciting because I finally updated my TBR jar prompts. I did film this actually in my bookish video that I did in January, so yeah, that will be out. So we've got a load of new prompts, which is very exciting. I'm going to try, oh my gosh, they're already falling out everywhere. Okay, it is very full. I'm just trying to shuffle them a bit because, okay, this isn't going to work. Well, you know, I was just trying to shuffle because I feel like, I don't actually know what order I put them in, but I don't want there to be any that I might guess. So let's just start with this one. Oh, so this one literally just says, I don't know if you can see that, they never really show, annoyingly, but it just says romance, which that is perfect after what I've just said. So there are a few on my radar actually, more so on this massive stack of books here. This is like, I actually have another one down here. These are the books I've recently purchased, so I feel like I end up going towards these more than the books on my cart, which is actually very bad. I don't think there are many romances on here though. It's a lot more fancy on here, whereas romance I've got a few on this list. Oh yeah, I've got more than I thought actually. We have purchased a lot of romance recently because I have 6 options and I kind of want to get to them all, so I don't know which one to go for. The first option I have is Beautiful Venom. I feel like I've heard very good things about this one, and this one is on Kindle Unlimited, so that's a choice. Then we have Love Arranged, which is the 3rd book in the Lakefront Billionaires series. It's about to say season. This one I really want to get to as well, but it is pretty long. I feel like these two are quite long. Then we have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I absolutely adore Abby Jimenez. I've read, I don't know how many books of hers, but I'm yet to read this one. And I do have this downloaded on my Kindle, so a strong contender. Then we have A Love Letter to Whiskey. This one, again, I've heard really good things about. I feel like it's a bit more of a toxic relationship that happens in this. I don't know if he's like an alcoholic or something, but we've got that one. And then The Long Game. This is obviously the 2nd book to Heated Rivalry, which I finished Heated Rivalry at the end of December, and I do really want to read this one, but I'm scared to read this one because the 3rd book doesn't come out until September, I think, and I don't know if I want to read this and have the wait or if I want to go a bit closer. And then lastly we have Ricochet by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I recently just finished Addicted to You, so this one is high on my list. So out of all of these 6, the ones that are calling my name the most, I want to say, I feel like the top 2 contenders would be Part of Your World and Ricochet. I feel like they're both books I definitely want to get to. I feel like Ricochet is so short I might be able to finish this before I go away. So I think I might go Part of Your World because this is definitely one I really want to read this month and just whilst I'm in Australia, because I find Abby Jimenez's books really easy to binge and I just love the vibes, and I feel like when I'm on the beach this will be a perfect book, and I also do have it on my Kindle. So the first book we're going to do is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Let's see what one. I feel like I need to really get in there. There we go. Right, let's see. The second prompt we have, oh my gosh, these are all like my favourite things. We have enemies to lovers. How am I picking all the best prompts right now? Enemies to lovers, okay. I feel like immediately we need to go into fantasy. So what do we have? Is this enemies to lovers? What's in this? God, I'm saying that, I don't know if I already have. Enemies to lovers. I feel like these two. I might have to check my phone. I don't even know my phone. Okay, so I've got two options that are both considered enemies to lovers. I feel like maybe there's probably a lot more enemies to lovers on my list, but well, on my physical TBR on my list, but I just don't want to have to keep googling. So the two options, God, what's wrong with me? We have, first is Never by Jessa Hastings. This one is a, I can't think, Peter Pan retelling, which I love Peter Pan, and I've heard like mixed things, but I feel like I'm seeing more positive things about this, so I'm really intrigued by this. And I think it's like, obviously there's Daphne, there's Peter Pan, and there's Hook, so I'm like, okay, enemies to lovers vibes. And then we've got Lady of Darkness. This is one I've heard loads of people rave about. This is also on Kindle Unlimited. I think this one might be as well, actually, saying that. And I'm really torn. I don't know which one I want to go for. I feel like this is a series. Don't want to start another series, but I have heard really good things about this, and I feel like if it's as good as everyone says, I'll probably fly through it. But, and then this is also a series, but there's no second book, so I'd be stuck waiting. Oh god, I'm really conflicted. Okay, I think I am going to go with Lady of Darkness because I feel like I've heard just such good things, whereas Never, I have heard good things, but it's been a bit mixed. So I feel like this is going to be one that I enjoy. So just so you know, I kind of like to go in blind with my books, so I'm not going to read the back of this one. Obviously Abby Jimenez, that's a romance, I feel like we don't need to go into that, but this one, just so you know, it says a cage, a choice and a mystery, and I think it's about these, Scarlett and her two sisters are owned by a ruthless assassin lord, and I think they're trying to get free. And then Scarlett's presented with a job, and if she completes the assignment, her payment will be something she has coveted for 10 years, revenge against the Fey Fire Prince who brutally killed her mother 10 years ago. That's all I'm going to read on the back of this because, as I said, I like to go in blind, but this sounds really fun. So our third book, oh, okay, one's just fallen out. Two have just fallen out. Put those back. So our third one, oh my gosh, how am I getting fantasy? How am I getting all of the ones that are like my favourite books? And also could have just used Lady of Darkness for fantasy, so that was great timing. But okay, I have fantasy. I just don't know what fantasy I want to read. I'm trying to think what's on my Kindle. I'm trying not to pick anything too long, but I do feel like that's difficult with fantasy because I feel like all fantasy books are a bit long. This round. I'm trying to think of something on my Kindle or recently. There are a few. Catch it anyway. This one. Okay, I've had a little look and I feel like that was much harder to decide than I would have thought, because I feel like a lot of my fantasy books that I've got on here I've had on my TBR before, and I'm trying to go for books that maybe I haven't had on my TBR just so my odds are a little bit more in my favour. And the book that I've recently purchased is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This is one of my favourite authors, and this is based in the Grishaverse, which comes, I think, this duology, because there's King of Scars and then Rule of Wolves, I think, is the next one, and these come after after Six of Crows, which was one of my favourite duologies ever. I absolutely adore that series, and I feel like I'm excited to go into this. I don't know exactly what and if there's much of a crossover in this. I think there's 1 or 2 characters that come into play from Six of Crows into this, but it's not a complete follow-on. So I'm not going to read the back or say anything about this one just because I don't want it to ruin anything that potentially happens in Six of Crows or the Shadow and Bone trilogy. But I do love Leigh Bardugo. I feel like I will enjoy this one. It's also one that I only purchased the other week, so I feel like it's not been on a TBR before, so I feel like we've got good odds with this one. Right, the 4th one, let's try pick. So far I've got all the best prompts. Oh, okay, saying that, I've now got lowest rated. So the lowest rated book on my TBR. So I feel like the annoying thing is Goodreads lets you put your to be read like list in rating order, but my want to read isn't updated with all of the books I currently own. So that's a bit of a problem. But Fable, which is updated, doesn't let you do that. So I think we're going to go with what is in my want to read for Goodreads, because I feel like it does have majority. Average rating, here we go. It does have majority of the books. So let's go. So we've got it. Average rating. So the lowest one, okay, so the first one that actually comes up, do you know what, let me just screen record this so you can actually just see it alongside me, because that'll be easier than me trying to flip it. So as you can see, the first one that is lowest rated is Vasmora, which is a book that Kerry Lake has not yet released, so let's scrap that. But the second lowest rated is The List by Yomi I have no idea how you pronounce that, Edok, I'm not too sure, but it is called The List, and I've actually got that literally right here. Oh my gosh, I can't get it out. So this is the lowest rated book, and this is about, I believe it's about Ola is a high profile journalist, and she's marrying the love of her life in a month's time, and they have it all. And then there's basically a list, an anonymous person posts a list of like all these abusive men, and it's been published online, and her husband's name is on there, and I think she's trying to get to the bottom of it and find out if he's abusive, who her husband is, and all of these queries. So I mean, to me it sounds like a really fun concept, but it obviously is the lowest rated, so I'm not too sure how I feel about this one, but it sounds fun. And obviously it's like I'd say this is more like a literary fiction, so I feel like it will be nice to switch up the vibe. Obviously I've got 2 fantasies, a romance, so this will add something a little bit different. So we currently have 4 books. I think I am going to do 5 just to give myself one more. I feel like I might not read them all, but you know, it gives me a bit more option. And to be fair, I'm awful at sticking to a TBR, so the chances of me even finishing all 5 of these is very low, but I just find it fun. So, oh, okay, we've got a book talk fave. What is a book talk fave? Okay. Immediately, obviously, I feel like I'm drawn to A Love Letter to Whiskey and The Long Game, because obviously Heated Rivalry, this series has gone crazy on TikTok. So I feel like this one is a strong contender for that one. What else is there that I've got this? Oh, I feel like Divine Rivals, everyone went crazy for this one for a while. I'm very late in the game, I do need to read this. I'm trying to think what else. I feel like maybe Ricochet, maybe I feel like the Addicted series, but I'm not too sure. What else have I got? Oh, I feel like Red Rising is one that I've been seeing all over BookTok at the minute, and I do really want to get to this, but I don't want to put it in February just because I don't feel like being on vacation is the time to read a book like this. This is like sci-fi. I think it's like a sci-fi fantasy, and I feel like this is one I would rather read when I'm home. So I feel like out of these, we've got The Long Game, A Love Letter to Whiskey, Divine Rivals. I feel like I might do A Love Letter to Whiskey, just because, as I said, I feel like I want to wait a bit before I read The Long Game, just so I can prolong the Heated Rivalry experience for a bit longer, because I don't want to have to wait until September. So maybe I'll read that one in a few months. But this one, I feel like I've heard good things. I feel like it's going to be quite easy to binge. I don't actually know what it is, but it just says Brex has spent years writing the story of her life, but there's one chapter that never quite closed, Jamie Shaw. It starts with a jog, a clumsy collision, and an instant crush. Oh. While her heart skipped a beat, Jamie's eyes found her best friend instead. And just like that, her crush became her closest friend. Oh, interesting. Okay, this sounds really interesting. It says a heart-wrenching and addictive. This is a story of love, loss, and the years it takes to finally get it right. Oh, this sounds really fun. Okay, I think I'm going to do this one. So, they are the 5 books I'm going to hopefully read and attempt to read in February. So I'll just quickly go back through. So we've got Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, which is like a quick romance. Then we've got Lady of Darkness, which is obviously a fantasy, enemies to lovers. Then we have King of Scars that covered the fantasy prompt. Oh my gosh, I'm literally about to knock everything over. Then we have The List, which is obviously the lowest rated. And then last but not least, we have A Love Letter to Whiskey. So I'm very excited to get to these. I feel like there's a nice mix, and yeah, I feel like they'll be fun to read whilst abroad. I feel like the highest chance is like, I think I'll definitely read Part of Your World, A Lady of Darkness, and A Love Letter to Whiskey. They're like the three ones that I'm most drawn to currently, but we will see. I'm going to try and attempt to read all of them, so we will see how that goes. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you've read any of these or if you plan to read any of these, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.